Good afternoon, friends and visitors, and welcome back to the OR News broadcast. It is 6 o'clock, and that means it's time for our daily English Flash News edition. And as usual, I'm Daniel Cook, your host, keeping you updated with the latest stories in Albania. In today's news, on the second day of the summit Countering Violent Terrorism, which is being held here in Tirana, Prime Minister Rama commented on the recent events in Kurbin, in which there were some casualties during a conflict between the police and a group of armed civilians. The Prime Minister had clear messages to give to the Macedonian government, saying that Macedonia cannot become part of NATO without implementing the Ohrid agreement. Mr. Rama said that terrorism should not be confused with the problems that arise from the lack of democratic principles. He said, "We hold a clear and supportive attitude about Macedonia. In the summit of the Wells, we asked for the full respect of the Ohrid agreement. The recent events in Kurbin were grave for Macedonia and for us. The Albanians have been, and continue to be, an irreplaceable state-building factor for Macedonia's integration process. The recent events happened because of the deterioration of democracy, and they should not be treated as issues of terrorism. Albania wants a stable Macedonia, but they cannot become part of NATO without guaranteeing the rights of all people. Macedonia cannot be part of NATO without respecting the Ohrid agreement," said the Prime Minister. Mr. Rama made the statement that terrorism has affected not only the Balkans, but the entire world. He highlighted that the cooperation between the countries is important in the fight against terrorism. Today, the Central Election Commission reviewed the request of the Socialist Party not to register the Democratic candidate for Kurbin. The Democratic candidate Ilir Petrai was registered with the CEC after the official deadline had passed, and the Socialist Party wanted him disqualified. After several hours of discussions, the CEC did in fact declare Mr. Petrai's candidacy to be invalid, as the deadline for registry was clearly set. The decision was made with 4 votes in favor and 3 votes against. Because of this ruling, the candidate of the Alliance for European Albania will be the only candidate for this municipality. The legal representative for the Democratic Party said that they will appeal the decision to the Electoral College. According to him, the registration was done in accordance to the law, and there is no reason to declare it invalid. The Socialist Party legal rep said that the decision was right and fair. He made the point that the Electoral Code contains timetables, and they must be respected. The Democratic Party has the right to appeal the ruling, he said, but the decision of the CEC was the right one. The Electoral Code has set official timetables that must be respected, said the Socialist Party lawyer. For the first time in Albania, 2 MPs are at risk of being sentenced to either prison time or community service work. Today, the Prosecutor General demanded that the Supreme Court give 20 months in prison to the 2 MPs of the left-wing majority, who are accused of physical assault in the parliament. The event in question took place last year in a particularly aggravated parliamentary session, in which the MPs Pierin Indreu and Arben Ndoka allegedly struck an opposition MP, Gent Strazimiri. According to the allegations, 2 MPs punched and slapped the Democratic MP a few minutes after a debate on the decriminalization process. During today's court session, the case prosecutor said that the 2 MPs had been found guilty for the events that took place on the 10th of July 2014. He demanded a 20-month prison sentence. The prosecutor said that if the MPs agree, they can convert their sentence to community service. Individually, the prosecutor demanded a 1-year jail term for Arben Ndoka, or 150 hours of community service, and an 8-month jail term for Pierin Indreu, for 100 hours of community service. The defense will give their position on June 5th, followed by the ruling of the Supreme Court. The former police director and the former head of Interpol Tirana attended a confrontation session today at the prosecution, which lasted for more than 2 hours. The 2 former officials were asked about the case of Mark Froku. The former head of Interpol, Didi and Bajraktari, was accused of holding the Belgian request for Froku's arrest, but he claims to have notified the police director about this request. On the other side, the former police director, Didi, said that he learned about the Belgian request only when the prosecution heard about it. He said, I was not aware of the arrest order. I learned about it only when the prosecution found out. The former Interpol director responded that the issue would be resolved in the court. Both officials are accused of dereliction of duty for failing to execute the arrest warrant for the MP, Mark Froku. The Interior Minister, Samir Tahiri, has announced that an anti-terror unit of 100 police officers has been established to prevent jihadists from joining the conflict in the Middle East. In an interview for Ohrid News, Minister Tahiri said that the unit is already operational. He made this statement today. This unit is based out of Tirana, but it is meant to follow every case all around Albania. The office is in Tirana, but this does not prevent the 100 police officers from performing their task in every city. The location of the office has nothing to do with their work. Their base is in Tirana, but they can operate anywhere, said Tahiri. The fight against terrorism has mobilized all the Western Balkan countries, as demonstrated by the 3-day summit that is currently being held in Tirana. The summit is intended to establish interregional cooperation with other countries that feel threatened by this global problem. In a recent interview with Euronews, the Serbian Prime Minister Aleksandar Vuçić insisted that the Albanians provoked the Serbians last October during the Serbia Albania football match. According to him, when the Albanians flew a drone over the Belgrade stadium during the match, they provoked the emotions and feelings of the Serbs. The Serbian Prime Minister said that this will not negatively affect the relations between the two countries, which are both trying to gain entry to the EU. Mr. Vuçić said, "It was a terrible provocation against us, and they did it on purpose, but I think we reacted well. We defended the Albanian players and the Albanian fans. None of them were injured. Someone wanted to provoke us, but we showed that we are too calm and not aggressive." And after that, after 70 years, for the first time in Belgrade, an Albanian prime minister visited Serbia, and I received him. I received him again on another visit, and in a few days, I will visit Tirana. In tune with the Albanian prime minister, Vuçić admitted that the Serbians expect more from the European Union. He said, "If they are weary from enlargement, we are weary from patience. We have worked hard and invested heavily in the normalization of relations with Kosovo Albanians, and in the end, we did not get what we should have received. I think we have really achieved a lot, although it was not an easy question for us. It was a very difficult issue for us, but we carried on with the dialogue with the Kosovo Albanians," explained the Prime Minister. A recent report that was published by the Save the Children Foundation showed that Roma children are being discriminated against in the social and institutional levels. The study was called the Youth in Action, and it was conducted for the National Orphan Day in 3 of the Western Balkan countries. According to the director of Save the Children, the study shows that the Roma community is the most vulnerable group in the region. The study was done in cooperation with the Ministry of Social Welfare, which hopes to draft a number of policies that will help this community. Also for the National Day of Orphans, a concert was organized with the support of the Assembly Speaker Ilir Meta and the Turkish Compassion Foundation. Thank you so much for choosing Ohrid News as your source for English updates. Please join us again tomorrow at the same time for more translated news in English. Thanks, and have a great night.